Hello, this is J.N.S, and today we are back with our weekly tarot. Happy Friday. I hope you guys are having a great day, and I also hope you guys are had a great week. It was a lot going on this week, and so we're here to talk about it. And, as we do with our weekly tarots, we are going to do a review of what we talked about last week. That was, let's see, that was June 28th. Yep, I just want to make sure it was June. That was last Friday. Yep, June 28th. And so we had said that there would be like specific things that we were looking for regarding like some sort of like rejection or like rejection of aid or funds or something of that nature relating to a power broker and a group of people that had less power. So we were looking um, at people who were oppressed this week. That could have been like melanated people. I specifically was looking to see like how Black Americans or Africans would be affected by that reading that we picked up on Friday, last Friday. And so I want to talk about some things, about the IMF, which is the International Monetary Fund, and the situation that has been occurring um, with several countries in terms of I guess there was a rejection of a new tax bill. Now I do have to say that this has been occurring before um last week's reading. So I do want to say that there was something going on over there, but it looks like there was some specific things that happened this week that I want to talk about because I do think it relates to the situation with the Kenyan revolution, but I also think that that energy is still going to carry out into next week, and that we'll see another situation, possibly with some sort of rejection or a block relating to some sort of aid funding or some type of program, something of that nature between a Western power or a more powerful nation and a less powerful group of people that have been marginalized. So that's what we picked up last Friday. Okay. Um, and so I want to talk about some of the things that we found. And then another thing we had mentioned was that there could be a group of people who refuse to like conform to the status quo, or refuse to conform to what other people are following. And so we I want to address that for a bit as well. And so first, we have the finance bill protest. There was why attention has shifted to IMF after rejection of the new tax bill. So there was some sort of, and again, I have not researched this prior to the reading of last Friday, so I'm actually catching up in real time. I have to actually see what this is all about. So actually, I'll use another resource because, as you can see, I have to actually pay to get access to this article. So let's look to see if we can find something that's free. Okay, so here goes something right here. Okay, so it says the IMF, this was published July 2nd. The IMF is failing countries like Kenya. Why and what can be done about it? So, what's going on in Kenya? The recent Kenyan protests are warning that the International Monetary Fund is failing. The public does not think it is helping its member countries manage their economic and financial problems, which are being exacerbated by a rapidly changing global political economy. And, this is important because, we were picking up that energy with some sort of rejection or some sort of issue between a Western power. Matter of fact, let's actually play it because I usually do like to, you know, um, review the actual video within this video. So that way, people that may be new or may not have the time to go back and actually review, it's just right here in a video. So let's go and do that. Okay, so this was, let me pull that up for you because this is interesting. The International Monetary Fund, you know, we used to hear about that growing up as far as like the things they were doing to handicap Africa and pretty much make them artificial debt slaves. Now, the debt is artificial. That's, I mean, if you're in a 3D matrix, you know the debt is artificial. But nonetheless, they would use like these Banana Republic, the African banana republics and the corrupt politicians to kind of pretty much sell out the citizens. And so that those international monetary funds, from what I understand growing up, just my research on it, it wasn't. I didn't think that that the International Monetary Fund was in a business of actually empowering Africa. I don't think anybody actually thought that. I mean, that was the guise, of course, right? That was the role that they were trying to play. But so let's look here. This is the International Monetary Fund. 2.7 rating. So it says the global organization supports countries' economic growth and prosperity through various services, including providing economic statistic report and analysis. So I do know they give money though, right? Yeah, they actually give funds, like millions of dollars. I think they just gave Ghana some funds this week. Matter of fact, right? Let's actually look at the news. Okay, yeah. So last week they approved a $360 million payout to Ghana. So they have like this sovereign debt restructuring process because he was putting a lot of these African countries in debt. Um, the African countries did not have to take that aid. Like, Thomas Sankara refused to take aid from the International Monetary Fund, and he was a true revolutionary, and it ended in his death. Other African presidents actually sold him out, and his best friend, um, who eventually had became the president of Burkina Faso, had sold him out completely, backstabbed him completely. And so, obviously the price of freedom is, it's not easy. It's not necessarily death, but it's definitely a cross to bear. And so with Thomas Sankara, he refused to take International Monetary Fund debt. But a lot of the um, other African countries, what they'll do is, they'll get this 360 million, but like they're going to skim off the top, as far as the actual heads of states, the presidents. They're going to take, they $600 million and all this stuff. I mean, where do you think all that money is going to go? It's not going to the citizens. And so, and I can't say that's the situation with Ghana in particular, but um, international fund. Let me just see Africa and debt. Let's see. Yeah. So look at this. Top 10 African countries with the highest debt to the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. This is pretty much how they enslave you. But again, it is artificial. And that's something, if you come out of the 3D and moving into, if Africa moves into a 4D, 5D, 6D, they'll realize that. But then again, it takes courage. And luckily, we have the citizens speaking. And this was the energy I was picking up on Friday. And again, I kind of feel bad that I don't even know what's going on over in the Kenyan Revolution. I tried to catch up, this week, actually listening to other people that are actually Kenyan on in Kenya give their perspective and give the details of what's going on over there. And that was very important for me to actually get it firsthand, like people that went to the actual protests in Kenya, people that are actually living in Kenya, to report, and they're not bought and paid for, and they're going to just give you the raw details of what's going on. And so, as you can see, here is the top 10 African countries with the highest debt to the IMF. I want to, I'd like to do I always teach when I'm doing these readings, but it's important to see this stuff for yourself. Like the total IMF credit outstanding as of July 2nd, 2024, we got Egypt, Angola, Kenya is number three. Wow. What's that? 2.5 billion? How you read that number? Is that, yeah, that's about 2.5 billion, right? You got Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, is the Ivory Coast, South Africa, the Dominican Republic of Congo, Morocco, Nigeria, and Senegal. And so this is the way that they have been um, disempowering Africa. It hasn't been empowering them. And you look at Egypt. I mean, come on, talk about a fall from grace. $10 billion to the International Monetary Fund. Egypt, who once laid the nations low. Whoa. Yeah. Mm. But times are changing, and so we already won. We're just waiting for things to play out on the 3D, and that's for people that's spiritual and that can understand and read between the lines of what I'm saying. Yes, indeed, we have already won. We are literally just letting things play out on the 3D realm, and so you may see the frustration and see things occur, but rest rest assured that victory has already been had. I'm just plugging in my plug. If you hear me, kind of my sound kind of going in and out. I had to plug my charger in. But yes, that's the IMF. But let's actually look to see more of what's going on in with this Kenya stuff. Seriously. Okay, so there were some Kenyan protests. You know, obviously they're up in arms with the International Monetary Fund. They said it's failing, and of course it's failing. And so we have here the IMF is not only the cause of Kenya's problems with the rising funds to meet its substantial debt obligations and deal with its budget deficit. Other causes include the failure of the governing class to deal with corruption, to spend public finances responsibly, and to manage an economy that produces jobs and improves the living standards of Kenya's young population. So the young population of Kenya, luckily, is they are speaking up, and they are not only holding their own politicians accountable for the corruption, but they are holding these Western powers that they get in bed with in terms of the International Monetary Fund. And so they have provided funds to them, and they are rejecting something they were doing over there. They rejected something. Whew, what happened with this rejection of the bill? Matter of fact, let's first play what we said was going to happen last week. So as you can see, 6 days ago, which would be June 29th. Actually, I had did this on the 28th, but I had I had to upload this, so I think it was like after 12, maybe like 12 a.m. And so it technically was the next day. So yes, let me play this for you. As far as the reason why it's rejected, yeah, there's a funds, somebody trying to give something in it. Just okay, get it almost ready. Just trying to see what I'm looking at. We might have someone trying to give some type of aid and it's rejected. Somebody tries to give someone something and it's rejected. That's the first thing I get. That's the first thing that just popped in my head. Somebody gives something and it gets rejected. A blockage, or there's a rejection of some sort. And that's going to be, as far as on the global level, there's some sort of rejection of, this could be a rejection of funds. Somebody trying to give, say a government or some type of institution tries to give some type of aid or funding and it gets blocked or rejected. This could be from an institution, a corporation, or a government. But the reason why there's like this underhandedness behind the giving, as far as the reason why it's rejected. Yeah, there's the person that on the receiving end, they're like naive or they're less experienced, or and so there's kind of like a protection around them. And if this relates on an individual level too, I'm speaking more globally, but this can also be like relating on a individual level. The person that is giving the resources or sharing or whatever, who is giving, they're generous, but there's some element of manipulation behind this. And so it looks like the reason for the rejection is kind of, to be honest, what I'm getting is a protection, outside protection, like a kind of like a cloak, because the person is naive, or like say the other person on receiving end, or whatever this institution or country or whatever that will be receiving the aid, they are less experienced. Very okay. And so there was a couple scenarios that took place this week in which that falls under, in terms of what we were seeing last Friday. And so one of which I don't think it's just Kenya. I do think that it relates to this International Monetary Fund and this Kenya, as far as the energy we're picking up and the funds, and it's like this type of aid that is rejected, or something that they were trying to do in Kenya with this IMF. But I really feel like there's going to be something else that's coming with this as well, with once again with a group of people that are more marginalized coming up against a power that has historically oppressed them. And so obviously this is would be one scenario in which that's relevant, of course. But I have to say I need to do a little more research on it. So it says Kenya's mass protest exposes African fury with the IMF. And see, they hide in these. If you notice, when it comes to this stuff with the IMF and what they always want to make you pay to see what's going on with these articles. So I can't even really read what the heck's going on. They want me to pay $39 a month or $1 for 4 weeks and all this stuff. That I ain't putting my card in this. So let's see what happened though. Let's read this. The country has been hammered with droughts. Okay, so 21 African countries are receiving IMF support. Okay. So there was a treaty establishing the International Monetary Support. I'm sorry, the International Monetary Fund 80 years ago, and it was expected to have resources equal to roughly 3% of the global GDP. This was to help deal with the monetary and balance of payment problems of 44 countries. Today, the IMF is expected to help its 191 member countries deal with its fiscal, monetary, financial, and foreign exchange problems with new issues like climate. What? Gender inequality. Oh, I'm like, I see. Who started the IMF? Like, really, really started it? Is this a Western? Let's actually Google that. How was the IMF started? Like, I bet you this was okay. The IMF was founded by 44 member countries that sought to build a framework for economic cooperation. It was established in 1944. Harry Dexter White. Yep, Harry Dexter White. Okay, let's see who this is. Because they don't be trying to, I'm like, I bet you Africans ain't had nothing to do with this shit. They was just told to go along to get along. And yep, Harry Dexter, here we go. Harry Dexter White was a senior U.S. Treasury Department working closely with the Secretary of Treasury. So this is a U.S. This was a way to. This was some type of COINTEL. This was a way to get these African nations enslaved and in debt. Clearly, and it'll be quite frankly the Kenyans are tired of it, and so they are fighting back. Kenya, this diaspora in the U.S. reject Ruto's plan to engage Gen Zs. So this is another sort of rejection. This was on June 30th on Sunday. I still want to know more about that Kenyan situation though. Let's go back. I want to know more about that. Where is it at? Okay. What did I do with okay, I have to look for the link again, guys. But yeah, this is interesting stuff. I mean, it has nothing to really do with Black Americans, but nonetheless, I still want to know because I have heard there was like a full blown, like revolution in Kenya. In Kenya, believe it or not, they have some pretty powerful PowerPoints and Stargates out there, and ley lines and grid lines too that pretty much affect the rest of the planet, just like how America does. And so I don't want to know why all of a sudden there's uproar, in Kenya. I find that like, okay, all of a sudden there's uproar. Okay. And maybe it's just all of a sudden to us because we're in the US, but it probably was something that was already brewing. Okay. Let's see. I'm still not really finding out what's really going on in Kenya though. Let's just type in Kenya revolution. News. Okay, so there's some tax. They were just calling it tax protests, but the people in Kenya are saying it's a revolution. But the people, I guess, the way they're saying this on the news is that it's just a protest. Okay, so they're just calling it protests, but people have died. Like the president of Kenya, I think that they just called this off. But I was looking at this today. They had a kill order for its citizens for this protest. So this is not just just like a protest and ain't nobody gonna touch you, whatever. No, people are actually dying out there. Okay, so they had some tax riots. So they broke into parliament. The protesters broke into parliament. They set fire to a section of it, pinched the mace, and forced terrified officials to flee. The security forces responded with live fire, killing at least 23 people. Kenya now stands in uncharted territory, not only as a parliament overrun protests also erupted in at least 35 of the 47 counties, including the Highland heartlands of William Ruto, its suddenly embattled president. Even more startling than the widespread nature of the protests were the attacks on the offices of Kenyan and MPs and local government officials, as seen as aligned with Mr. Ruto's tax policies. So he's probably a puppet. Wow. So this is the rejection that we're looking at. And he's sent by the damn IMF or whatever to try to get these people in line, and they fighting back. Let's see what this Ruto tax thing is. So this is the Ruto tax bill. Tag, I wish I had more knowledge of this stuff. Ruto bill finance. What is this stuff? First, continue in Kenya despite Ruto change of heart on the tax bill. Okay. Kenya Ruto says finance bill to be withdrawn after deadly protests. So I guess they were going to do something. Let's see. See, I'm telling you, they don't want us to be knowing about this stuff in America for some reason. Because I know America has something to do. Actually, I can prove America has something to do. There was some Kenyan United States ambassadors. Actually, the ex CEO of eBay, who's an ambassador to the U.S., was over in Kenya just recently. I want to say like this week. Let me actually pull that up. Okay, here we go. Because I found this article today. Yeah, just last week. So the U.S. is, involved in this shit. It's close to President William Ruto. Ruto's crackdowns on protesters has exposed a risk in relations. Okay, and so this is very recent. This was June 28th. Yeah, and so for whatever reason, it's not much stuff about this on the news. Brutal crackdown, anti-tax pro, and then they want to have this thing where, this narrative about Africans, and so they don't want to show Africans actually sticking up for themselves or fighting the IMF and fighting for their corrupt banana republic president. They don't want to actually show that to Black Americans or to Americans or in the general world at large. U.S. Ambassador Meg Whitman, the billionaire former chief executive officer of Hewlett Packard and eBay, okay, HP and eBay, who's become a close Ruto advisor and his most important conduit to the international business community. Their ties have garnered criticism from former diplomats as well as opposition politicians. See? It's not just perceived influence, it's real influence, said Eugene Wamala, former minister who leads the opposition Democratic Action Party. Wow. So I have seen Kenyans talking about this on YouTube. Advocate for human rights. Yep. So that is definitely one of the energies that I was picking up on then last Friday. This situation, and this thing right here with this rejection. Kenyan diaspora in U.S. reject Ruto's plan to engage. So this was June 30th. Kenyans living in Washington, D.C. have rejected President William Ruto's plan to engage the public through the recently announced National Multi-Sectoral Forum, and instead want the head of state to speak directly to Gen Zs in the country. Exactly. Okay, IMF told state to ignore anti-tax protests. See? They want the immediate release of all arrested during the nationwide protests against the controversial Finance Bill 2024, which saw a demonstration in 35 of Kenya's 47 counties. This was something that the U.S. planned. Probably CIA is involved. IMF is involved, clearly. Again, Kenya has its stargates. Kenya also has, they have stargates. They have some pretty powerful energy that the United States will like some access to be quite frank. I'm speaking as a priestess now, as far as like things that I can see spiritually. They definitely want access over there. And whatever this finance bill 2024 is most likely a new form of like some sort of enslavement, some sort of stronghold. And as I was looking for evidence for this week of what we saw on Friday, do you know that I kept typing in, Black Americans rejection, or like did Black Americans reject anything? Because I wanted to see maybe if it was us. Then I did the Caribbeans, see if it was them, and then I did the Africans. And as I was putting in did Africa reject any aid? Africa reject funds, for what we picked up on last Friday. And I felt like massive strongholds, like spiritually, I felt like like an attack on that continent, like, oh, I mean, and I mean, if I wish y'all could have saw like my reaction as I was typing. I said, oh, and I even said it out loud. I said, wow, it's massive strongholds on Africa. Like a lot of this stuff is breaking, mind you, but like they still got some ways to go. I'm not gonna hold you. Black Americans, we got some ways to go as well. Like this is serious Masonic strongholds, uh, spiritual strongholds. Like you could feel that stuff when I was tapping into that energy yesterday. I was like, ooh, um, whoa. So this finance bill 2024, this is 3D stuff. You think it's political, you think it's, but for those of us that's in the know, we know that currency is spiritual. Currency is money. Money is energy. It's backed by ether. For those who don't know that, but like we're talking about the International Monetary Fund and its currency and then the tax and the finance bill. This was a way to probably try to create another stronghold on the Kenyan people. And they had a knee jerk reaction to that to reject it. They had a knee jerk reaction to hell no. Because we are going into a new earth. We're going into uh, 5D, 60, 70, many, some of you go to 8D, 9D, 10D. But this kind of stuff is just unacceptable. The behavior of the IMF, the behavior of, the treatment of melanated people globally, including Black Americans, obviously has been quite disgraceful, and the energy of that can no longer sustain itself. It's not something that's sustainable. You can't treat the inhabitants of the earth and the gatekeepers of the earth and of other portals and of certain knowledge the way they have been treating us. They can't do anything to us. They can't continue to do the things they have done. And so this is the last hurrah. They're going to start to use our own people against us, whether you be in America, whether you be in Africa, whether you be in the Caribbean. That's the way that is what they're gonna do. Use a face that they've been doing that in Africa. That ain't nothing to do. They've been doing that in America, but they're gonna try to ramp this stuff up. And this was 35 out of Kenya's 47 counties went into an uproar. People have died, over what the International Monetary Fund and what they were trying to do with this finance bill 2024. It got rejected. And so, this, despite withdrawing the finance bill on June 26th, they did withdraw it. He avoided accountability for his own shoot to kill orders. So he had shoot to kill orders of his own people. His deputy had distanced himself from the Black Tuesday killings and blamed security agents for the extrajudicial killings. They killed their own citizens. Recognizing a finance bill was drafted in response to the International Monetary Fund Structural Adjustment Program in order to access concessional financing under the extended credit facility. The group was unhappy with the fund's attempts to disassociate itself from the impact of the bill, which has been widely rejected in Kenya. As such, they demanded the IMF mission chief of Kenya to take responsibility for a role in creating the economic conditions that have fueled widespread civil unrest in Kenya. See, that's why they don't want nobody in the U.S. to know about this. The Kenyan diaspora in the U.S. also expressed concern over the presence of several U.S. congressmen, including Rep. Vern Buchanan, Gwen Moore, Dan Kadee, Now Dunn, Judy Ironton, Ferguson. Okay. In the Kenyan parliament on June 19th, where they legitimized the tax bill. So the U.S. is behind this. And my thing is, we're doing our own delineation as Black Americans, but the U.S. really has no business in Kenyan's affairs. Like, why are our congressmen legitimizing this tax bill that is causing this uproar over there? It was to create a stronghold. I'm telling you, just like how they do things to create strongholds on Black Americans, we have our own strongholds that we're fighting through. But I felt that yesterday. I said that the first thing that when I was looking up this IMF shit, I said that's a stronghold, a spiritual stronghold. Whew. And it's still there, and the Kenyans are trying to break through it because there's prophecy that Kenya will be the first one to start to pop off stuff on that continent. So this is interesting that Kenya will be the first one to get things rolling in Africa and then the rest of Africa will follow. So are we seeing the steps of that? I'm not quite sure, but I do know that we're going to see more of this energy as we're going into it. This new earth, this heaven on earth state of consciousness, divine feminine consciousness. this earth is crying out for justice for all melanated people globally, for anybody that's been done wrong and oppressed by these strongholds, by fake imitating powers that are not even supposed to be in power, that were supposed to hand over this treaty to melanated people in all continents. It has not been done. And so it has to be forcefully done. And you will see within the next 4 to 12 years that happen. Specifically in America, you're going to see some interesting things happen in America. But yeah, I mean, this was a way to create a stronghold on them, and so they're rejecting this. So that's one thing that we picked up last week. There was also something with Uganda's parliament convened special session as President Museveni rejects funding bill. So on July 2nd, 2024, the president of Uganda also rejected some sort of funding bill. And so again, we just knew that there were going to be something with some sort of melanated people or some people that were like oppressed, like historically marginalized by the entity that they would be rejecting, which would usually be some sort of Western power or entity such as the International Monetary Fund. And so yesterday, we also saw China rejects key Western cause for human rights reform at the United Nations meeting. So last week we did specifically mention, I think I actually mentioned there would be something with like I thought it could be who. I'm very naive, and so it's kind of like guys. Let's see what else we said here. I thought it could have been who, United Nations, some sort of global organization is what we were picking up. So let's see what else we said. This could be aid to possibly one of them African countries, or aid from the U.S. to another country. Something that gets rejected, though. That's what I'm keep getting. Some sort of funding that's rejected, aid that gets rejected, help that gets rejected. It could be help, money, aid, something to people. I don't know if it's even an offer to send troops, anything of that nature. And for some reason, I'm getting more of melanated energy. And so this could be something related over there with Africa, with some sort of aids and shit that gets rejected or money that gets rejected. But I wouldn't be shocked if it's, it could be over in America too, but it's something with melanated people that I pick up as far as them getting manipulated or some sort of deception, even though somebody's giving them something, but it's really like some sort of manipulation behind it, and it gets blocked by kind of like God, or like it's a protection over them, as far as the rejection, some sort of rejection. But it does look like there's a little bit of sadness. Like, yeah, there's some sensitive energy in this. I would say, yeah, it looks like somebody's trying to give someone something for sure, though. It's definitely some type of aid. Definitely some type of aid. And it does look like whoever this person who was receiving the aid, or the country, or the institution, or the people. Again, I got a strong feeling it's kind of, I'm just picking up Africa, but I could be wrong. But it does refer to some type of melanated. And so you got Caribbean, you have, Caribbean, and then you have the Haitians, and you got us over in America, Black Americans. And so I do see that, and it looks like this country, the one that rejects it, or the people, or whoever rejects this, they are sticking up for themselves at the expense of losing that relationship. This is a powerful person. This is powerful. It's an imbalance in the power, for sure, as far as the experience level, and then the other person. And so the other person that does the rejecting, they're going to lose that network, or that funding, or that aid, or whatever, or that relationship, but they will be sticking up for themselves, and they'll be a little isolated. There's some I would say this on an individual level. This week, you need to focus on your self-preservation. You need to remove yourself from any abusive relationships. Like, if you're dealing with anyone and that gives you any sort of abuse, if you want to remove your offer. I got a strong feeling this is from a marginalized people that has been fucked with, and it's going to be a stalemate in communications. There's past wounds that make it difficult to trust again. So this is most likely some sort of European and melanated. Again, I can't I can't tell if it's Africans or if it's Black Americans or the Caribbeans, but it's a power. So like it's some type of power, Western power or European power, something that it ain't giving some sort of aid or funding or something, and something gets projected. And it is about more so of the self-preservation, past wounds that make it difficult to trust again. So there's a distrust, even though there's a naivete, there's a distrust, but because it appears that someone giving you something, God kind of blocks it because though you don't have the trust, it's still a resource or it's still like money or something like that. And so you may feel like okay, yeah, we need this or we need, and so that's why I feel like this energy of outside universal cosmic energy, just deception or manipulation or there being communication this week. It's not the best. You may notice you feel there's gonna be some a lot of selfishness this week. Could be sending troops or it's something with aid funds or something they're giving. So some generous act from a power with melanin. I'm seeing like melanin because of past wounds. I'm gonna get blocked this week. It gets I keep getting selfishness, rejection or fear of abandonment. And you're selfish with that. Okay. So I mean you guys get the point. But yeah, finance bill protest. Why attention is shifted to IMF at the rejection of new tax bill, June 30th. But also we see something with China, and I was trying to look in the part of the video where because I know I mentioned like it was either the United Nations, World Health Organization, or the IMF. I know I mentioned that in the last week's video, but I don't quite remember the timestamp. So, and I don't want to labor the point. And so I'm just going to move on. But nonetheless, China also rejected some sort of key Western calls for human rights reforms at UN meeting. So on surface, obviously, it's like, okay, human rights reform. Okay, cool. But it's like the United Nations. And so once again, United Nations is also more, European based. It's a Western power based. It just is what it is. The United Nations doesn't have the best reputation for treating other nations, there is calls into question in terms of their intentions and the outcome. So the intentions don't match the outcome, the goals don't match the action, and so the rest of the world understands that. And then China doesn't have the best relations with the West in general due to the opioid war and what happened with Britain when Britain colonized China. China was at their worst for like I want to say a good 50 years and kind of bounced back. They went through a period of isolation and worked, to kind of mimic what the West was doing and to get, that's how they fight. The Asians, they mimic the West. It's not like they'll do anything like that's necessarily more innovative or and I'm not coming at Asian people or anything. I'm just saying like I've studied these things for years in terms of like how groups of people will fight back and their tactics and whatnot. And theirs is to go on race. They don't mind competing with the West. They will compete, but they more so mimic because they have their own way of doing things. And unfortunately, I have seen them abandon some of their own ancestral ancient ways in order to try to keep up with what the West does, because they didn't want to get devoured. And I mean, they got clobbered during that opioid situation that had happened over there. And so I guess they figured, we're never letting that happen again. And so whatever we have to do to compete with the West, we'll do it no matter what, no matter how unsavory, how unethical, whatever it is, whatever, we will be able to compete with them. And, it causes a mess. But yeah, so China rejects the United Nations meeting. This is having to do with Hong Kong. I do know that the West has a lot of influence in Hong Kong. I don't quite know what this is about. Yeah, but I know it's a Human Rights Council with Geneva, and people don't take the United Nations serious in terms of them being the arbiters to be able to call someone out for human rights. It's formality, but United Nations, they've done some suspect things, and so I just thought this was interesting. Again, I haven't followed a lot of foreign policy lately. I used to follow a lot of foreign policy like in 2021 and especially over in Africa, but I haven't done that in a while, especially like with our whole delineation movement. It's been more US centered. not even U.S. centered, but Black American centered. And so, it's interesting to see, like what's actually going on outside of the world. Yeah. So yeah, July 4th. This was yesterday, and so let's see. Yeah. So you know, Financial Times, they're blocking us getting the information in terms of what's really going on over there. Kenya's mass protest exposes African fury with the International Monetary Fund. So nonetheless, that's what we picked up. I do think there's going to be more. We had Uganda's president reject things as well this week. I think it's going to be more. I really do. This energy is new. It's like yesterday when I was looking for these things. Um, great mother was really expressing to me, we were trying to break these strongholds. You feel these strongholds? And I said, yeah, there's some strongholds. It was strongholds on the Africans, strongholds on the Black Americans. I'm like, why is melanin? It's like a fight, boy, spiritually. Now you may not feel that, and that's fine. But yeah, I could feel that. I could feel that stuff. And unfortunately, we got people selling out for pennies on a motherfucking dollar everywhere. Even my own people is people that are literally selling out for pennies on the dollar to get in with this beast satanic system while it's on its last leg. It's one of the most jankiest deal. I mean, if y'all was gonna make a deal with the devil, you should have did that shit, 60 years ago when shit was still on its leg, or maybe during the micro, when the first tech boom. And I mean, now with their system going literally on its last leg, it's stupid to do a deal. Like, it's literally stupid to do deals. That goes for the African countries. It is stupid to do business, to try to go and get these debts, these artificial debts, and thinking the IMF's going to help you and all this stuff. And I know I'm going to come under fire for, even talking like this, but yeah, that would be my warning to all melanated people, wherever you're at, especially Black Americans. If I know if you are still 3D and you can't see what's going on, I am telling you that it's like a vacancies. There's vacancies. But the strongholds being broken, there's still strongholds, but there are vacancies of power that they don't want you to know about spiritually. And so they're trying to hurry up and get you into more bondage, more spiritual stronghold, whether that be through a contract, through a deal, through debt, artificial debts, with the IMF, through the United Nations, whatever it is. And so melanated people, I mean, if you don't want to heed those warnings that I'm saying, then don't heed them. Continue to run off a cliff. But even my own people, I try to drill in their heads, like, stay away, like, it's falling. There's this matrix has totally collapsed. And some of us can see it more than others. Some of us can feel it more than others. And they have their people on the other side, even the sellouts that are sanctioned or giving credence to their system and fighting those of us that are actually sent to actually help our people, whether we are in America or whether you may be someone in Africa as well doing that work. And you notice the fight is usually against your own, setting you up, your own doing, and they have taken the oath to their system. And so that's another thing that we have challenges with. And it's the biggest thing is that discernment to know who's an agent Smith and who's not, who's a part of that and who's not, like who's controlled opposition and who's not, who's merely there, to cause distraction. And that's the work that we have to do, those of us that are committed to seeing liberation and enlightenment and justice and love and peace and harmony on planet Earth. Um, we have to get our discernment up. We have to be as wise as a serpent and as harmless as a dove, um, as my brother would say. But yeah, that's real shit. You have to do that. We have to be that way as melanated people. Um, Wise as a serpent, wise as a serpent. Okay, and as harmless as a dove. Um, yeah, but what do we know about the serpents? Don't they got venomous poison? And a serpent is always been associated with the divine feminine. For those who don't know that, and if you guys wanted to know who that quote is from, um, I'm not going to state who it's from. If for those in the know, you know, and the people that's supposed to know it, I bet you they're the ones that don't know who said that. As per usual, I'm not going to go on a soapbox here, but yes, let's look for next week. We covered this week. We see it. You see it. There's some things going on. This energy is going to carry on to next week. That I can feel. It's not done. It's not done. Not even remotely. Now, they're thinking about borrowing more. This president is a complete sellout. He's most likely a banana republic. I mean, a puppet. Um, they're going to try to. They have to. He's going to tell them that they have to borrow more money since they rejected the raise in the taxes. And so, they get you one way, then get you the other way. They need to fight against that. If that would be my message for them Africans to keep take him to task on that, borrowing that money from the IMF. Reject that too, because that's the other stronghold. Those are always the strongholds that they use. And this guy is clearly willing to sell y'all out. I mean, clearly. And it's so sad. It's so sad. It's incredibly sad. I mean, I told you certain bloodlines took pacts and oaths, man, and they make good on their deals. They have to. This is contractual shit. If you want to know why every African president sells you out, or every black politician in America, the Congressional Black Caucus and the Black Boule, as we say, not all of the Boule are sellouts. And I don't want to even remotely say that, but even within Black America, we'll see certain people just. It's like we just have puppets, or we have people that will just constantly sell us out. It's like, what is that? That these are people that have to make good on a deal, or they will die. Their families will die. Their kids will die. It's deep. It's deep shit. Yep. So nonetheless, let's get started with next week's reading, which will be from what, July 6th to July 12th. Yep. I will put my links in here for you if you guys do want to get a reading from me. You can book on Etsy, and that could be. I want to make sure that it's recording still. Okay, because again, when we talk about certain topics, man, it gets deep. You can book on Etsy, pre-record it. You can do it. We can do a live reading, however you want to do it, or you can. I can pre-record it and send it to you. You can schedule whenever it's at your convenience, and we'll get that done. And so let's look at next week's. If I don't see world events, I'm not going to force it, because sometimes I kind of feel like I'm forced into myself to see world events, and it's not necessarily healthy for my energy and just in general, And so let's see what we see for next week. Ooh, can I change this? Ooh, ooh, ooh. I'm going. If it comes, I'm gonna do it again. And if it comes back, I gotta leave it the way it is. But that was some heavy, 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 heavy. I don't want to even. I didn't want to manifest that. I didn't even want to tap into what I was seeing. So I'm gonna try to see if I can flip the predictive algorithm on that. Let's see. Can I do that? Can I do that? Can I do that? Mm, we can kind of, to a degree, kind of program this stuff. To be honest, if you guys didn't know, and that's why people that do these type of things, whether it be I Ching, cowrie shells, tarot, quantum entanglement, however it is, those people that can actually legitimately do it, they are looked at as huge threats, because we're talking about energy manipulation and script writing of the algorithm of the collective unconscious, not just of events, but of humanity. And so certain people are given credence to do that, but we know that the elites have been doing that for quite a while, to everybody else's detriment. And so, here we are. Here we are, doing our own script production of what we kind of want to see on a weekly basis. And some of it is already set in stone. And then some of it, believe it or not, is a process actually of actually writing out the script of what events will happen, of what energies will take place, and then just watching it happen. And those in the know, some of them will know that. Like, even some of my clients, I can tell that they know that, and they literally just when they get readings, I can tell clear as day that they just want me to give them the energies, send them the energy of the outcome that they want, and so that it's more powerful. Like it just I've witnessed this, and so I do know that there's an element of this that can be that deals with manifestation, rather, is what I'm saying. The long and short of it. The long and short of it. Okay, so let's see what we see for next week. Interesting. I'm still picking up some things. I'm still tapping into this energy. This is interesting. Nonetheless. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm. Still looking. Okay. Okay, so I do have to say the beginning of the week is going to start off so awesome. Like starting tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Let's see, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yep, it's going to be awesome for the energy on this planet as well as on an individual level. I'm trying to pick up if I see any world events. Um, there could be like some on a world event level. There could be some sort of apology from powerful institution or a powerful person. This looks to be possibly in law enforcement or military. Something with military, or there can be like some sort of new technology that comes out of the military, some sort of new surveillance device or something new with like some sort of um, new technology relating to military that relates to surveillance or I know this may sound strange to you guys, but something where they can sort of predictive analytics. That is to kind of simplify what I'm saying to you. I would say it almost kind of seems like some sort of technology that relates to telepathy or like psychic abilities or something relating to that. I mean, I hope I'm off on that because that's kind of scary as far as what I'm picking up. But it's something that they are working on behind the scenes. It's like military or law enforcement. They're doing something where they may apologize. One of these again, it may not even be U.S. based, but I'm just saying on a global event, there's like some type of technology they're working on that relates to like surveillance and but in a predictive sense that could be almost come off like telepathic or intuitive. Yeah, some type of technology that they're working on that you may hear about next week. Another thing is, um, if not that, there will be some sort of apology from one of again, this could be a law firm, law enforcement, military. I'm not too much getting the power of like government. This seems to be a little bit smaller than like I mean, I don't rule anything out, but yeah, yeah, this is I'm getting military and or law enforcement, something that they come out some authoritative figure though. It's a very cold energy. It's a very it's an energy that has not much emotions, but believe it or not, whatever this technology is, it does have a emotive capabilities or something they're developing. It's something, I'm telling you, something the military is developing relating to some sort of intuitive technology, like technology that can predict the future, that is sentient, that has emotions, and it's quite scary. But that's the first thing that I am picking up. That some events. Let me write that down so I don't forget. Tech uh, by the it's either by the military or law enforcement that relates to what is it? What do we say? Some sort of like predictive uh, capabilities that are intuitive, almost psychic, or this could do with something with telepathy. Um, that is sentient, like has some emotions. It's for surveillance, but it's also for some other things. And again, it may be something that that's just one scenario. Another thing is that it could come out and maybe there's something that they could also like be apologizing about. They could also make an apology about something. I don't know what that would be. But, apology about something. This is also like law enforcement or military. That I'm picking up. Let's see if I could get a narrowed down energy where it's coming from. Honestly, don't get that. I get that it could be possibly several. Let's see. I want to study this energy. Yeah, I do get that it's possible overseas. Um, Again, those are just certain scenarios. But another thing, as far as individually though, this is a really good week for I would say emotional laughter, anything that has to do with laughter and joy and satisfaction of the self. This is a good week for that on an individual level. If you notice after the fifth day, after that would be like around Wednesday or Thursday, that you have like a slump in your low self esteem or feeling codependent or even feeling like you don't have enough finances, please please don't allow that energy to fester personally. Like immediately recognize it and then uh, reprogram your subconscious because this is a pretty good energy next week, with the exception of we see that Five of Pentacles, and that usually speaks to some sort of male nourishment. And so, as far as like on a individual level, if you start to feel like around Wednesday or Thursday that you feel like there's say a loss of support or um, you may feel a little needy, codependent, or having some uncertainty about finances or insecurity about finances. Um, Work on that. Don't let it fester. Don't look at it as oh, this is the outcome. This is what's going to happen. If you once you start to feel that energy, you can start to reprogram your subconscious immediately. You can, whether that be through your prayer, through your affirmation, subliminal visualization techniques, whatever you got to do, meditation, um, and even action clearly to make sure that that feeling does not carry on in long term, because that is an energy that I do pick up. Now, in terms on a global level, um, there could be whatever it is. If the military is doing some type of technology that they're working on, there could be some spiritual malnourishment in that. It may not be they have it, when they may be well intentioned with it, it's something off with it as far as like the outcome. So they may, it's something of that nature. Another world event that may possibly happen is that there could be um, some sort of cutoff of a country or of something, a cutoff from support from a country that leaves a country feeling lost and wandering or even homeless. Let's see, or stateless rather. Um, Possible, let me just write that down. Possible country cuts off another country from support, leaving them feeling lost or rejected. The energy, if you have, if there's a neediness energy, and there, but I also see energy where again there's satisfaction this week. If you are an individual and you have people in your life like a lover, you know, it's going to be a good week for love. The only thing you have to be careful of though is if you notice the codependence. If you're the codependent person, you want to reel that in, or if they are the codependent person and they're needy, you just want to gently check that, because other than that, it is an excellent week for love in terms of aligning of heart and mind, even sexual activities. Um, I know I usually don't talk about sexuality in a tarot video, but yeah, it's a good energy for lovers. And if you're someone that was thinking of like a reconciliation, um, even though we see that Five of Pentacles of the outcome, it does look like it starts off good, as far as reconciliation, but somebody does something that fucks it up. To be honest, it's a good week to apologize. If you also want an apology, so this it's a good time to do it as well. Another thing, if you had any plans for travel, the trip is going to start out, it'll be fine. The trip is going to start out great, and then you may notice probably overspending, overindulgence that leads to overspending. And then you get back and you kind of feel like, spend too much money. So you want to be careful of that. All these things, if you when you catch it, just immediately nip it in the bud. Don't just ignore that and then manifest a outcome that is not auspicious to you, auspicious to yourself. Another, this is a minor energy though that we see, is that for the individual level, if you're with a spouse or anything of that nature, um, while there is love, while there is emotional sharing and caring and nostalgia and these really good feelings, um, one of you may have like be less emotional than the other person. Like, and by that I mean like there's an energy that may be more logic based, more reason based, less emotional. So if you notice your spouse being less emotional, honestly don't take it too personal. um I would say, unless you are going to be like very, if you're codependent and needy, then that's why they're going to be logical. That's why they're coming off a little cold, a little like, come on. There's a logic, a very cold energy that you may experience from the spouse, probably for like one day. It's not nothing major, to be honest. Yes, but the overall culminating energy though for this week, I have to say, with the exception of what the worst energies that we see is that Five of Pentacles. I mean, maybe you could say the Seven of Swords, but Seven of Swords, that energy to me, it can denote sneakiness and deception or theft, but it can also denote someone wanting to go the lone wolf, go their own way. Be alone with, be introverted, be to themselves, non-conforming. Um, and so I see that it's a good energy, and then the overarching energy that we see is the Lovers and the Wheel of Fortune. And so that's key to understand, like that ebb and flow of life. One moment you're up, then one moment you're down, and you can't get attached to either one, or else you get stuck in the emotional rut of letting external forces control your inner mechanisms of your mind, which is what I teach about it in Naki philosophy, to not get attached to either, to the content that is outside of the self, the content of the mind, but to consciously choose what content you want to program the mind. And so that's another thing I see. And with the Lovers, we see the alignment with heart and mind when it comes to yourself, but also with a actual another lover. The alignment with heart and mind. And so that's a beautiful energy to tap into. The it's it but the Lovers can also be denote a choice. I believe this is Archangel Raphael, right? Yeah, the Archangel Raphael. So yes, aligning the heart and mind coherence is also good for the individual this week. Yep. And so you may notice some events turn in your favor, but then towards the end of the week, you may start to feel a little sluggish or needy, codependent, and have some low self esteem. But remember, immediately turn that off. Immediately reject that content, that V2, and program your mind with new V2. That's what I got to do. New content, rather. Yep. And so satisfaction. This is a good week for sex, emotional sharing. Seriously, that's the first thing I get. If for those that's more concerned, like with business, maybe you're not in the relationship. If you were looking to explore any new opportunities, or you were doing like any sort of leadership um, roles, this is a good week for planning. There may be you may make an offer to someone, or someone makes an offer to you, and you may see, if you were planning like some sort of partnership in sales or creative ventures, that's this is a good week for that energy. Yeah, it's a good week. Some of you may have a choice to make too, like a choice between two options or two people. It comes up twice for me, so I think it's important to note. Yeah, I'm trying to see if I see any more like world events. Because there's something here. I want to say ventures and partnership. I'm gonna put this down here as an alternative because I am starting to pick that up now. Like some sort of ventures in partnership between like major like conglomerates or like um, companies or company or even countries, but it doesn't. It's not the best. It's not the best deal yet, or something with it's not. It's a codependence. It's not healthy. That makes something. That makes. I mean, that's it's an option that I just picked up. I don't like to overread or over saturate things, but it's just something that I kind of came to me as I was looking more in depth in that two of wands energy. But again, lovers and wheel of fortune, good stuff. Then we have the king of swords and king of wands. That's what definitely makes me think there could be some sort of partnership and venture. Starts off good, starts off, it's been going good or whatever, and it may take a turn for the worse this week. It's also something that we see. Okay, but I'm not going to overread it. Yes, yes, yes. So, God bless, and I will talk to you guys next week. That would be July 12th. So we have July 6th to July 12th. I want to see what energies pop up and what things come to pass. Oh yeah, and that situation with Kenya, man, I got to do more research on that. I got a feeling that reading for last week is gonna it's still gonna be relevant, in terms of we seeing these rejections of the melanated people rejecting um, the more powerful players, aid, help, or bills, or whatever they're trying to do. Because again, it's about breaking these strongholds. A lot of this is a matrix, and when someone comes talking about the IMF and they're gonna give you new funds and all this and tax bill and all this shit like that, those are strongholds they're trying to put back on you. Stuff that you had already worked through, stuff that's already broken, and if an African country or a Caribbean country or Black Americans, if we gonna fall for that shit in 2024, whew, I don't want no parts of it because I know for a fact that there's vacancies up there and there's power that can be grasped by melanated people if we are serious. But if you're not going to be serious, um, then no one can. We can only lead you. You can't. You can lead the horse to water, but you can't make the horse drink. My ilk, my people. We'll jump on that horse and force that horse underwater. Just so you know, those from of my ilk. Um, that's a little extreme, and not all species and entities are like that. But I'm just letting you know that that's the type that we are. We talking about Saturn energy, so we will jump on that motherfucking horse and dump your motherfucking ass under that water. If they talk about can't lead a horse to water, you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make that horse drink. When it comes to melanated people and what we got planned for y'all, oh, we will dump your ass under that water. That go for Black Americans, that go for the Caribbeans, and that go for the Africans. Now we told you that what you was gonna do as far as being in power in your respective nations, in your respective countries, in your respective villages, and so that's what we expect. Now again, don't fall for those strongholds. Don't fall for strongholds, which is what the IMF is and all this other bullshit they trying to give us. And same with Black Americans and shit they trying to get us involved with whether that be the DNC. The DNC is a damn stronghold. Come on now. The Republican Party is a stronghold. We have to go in there from a position of power, whatever however we say we're gonna deal with these people. I just heard that they trying to get Kendrick Lamar to do a performance for the DNC, the saying they not like us for the Democrats and all that stuff. And them Democrats, I'm telling you, that's a stronghold that was over the Black Americans. And we was breaking those strongholds, but we don't want to go and create another fucking stronghold with the Republican Party. And so that's another thing that God is telling me to tell you guys right now. You gotta break these strongholds. And so the Democrat, I'm talking to the Black Americans right now. The Democrats, that's definitely a demonic stronghold that's been on our people since Lyndon B. Johnson. And so now we're breaking that stronghold, but you don't want to go into another damn stronghold with the Republicans. unless you got to come from a position of takeover. You got to go from a position of hostile takeover, not them telling you what to do, what to say, like a puppet, or what they gonna give you the parameters of what to do, or what you can think, or what you can say, or what's allowed. That's not how you want to approach that. That's You're going to create a stronghold with that mindset, and don't let any of our black gatekeepers tell you that you need to come that way. No, you got to tell them what the fuck you want. Tell them how they gonna do it, and they gonna do it, or you check out because they need us more than we need them. And if you can't see that now, then you go and get under a stronghold and an oath and a pact, or be under some spiritual shit that your ass can't get out of. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. So yeah, I know that was a little bit tangential, but that's another that's a key thing that I want you guys to think of this week, because I'm telling you, I yesterday when I was looking up the IMF and all this stuff with the African countries and trying to figure out what the hell's going on over there, I just kept I felt that even as I'm typing into damn Google, I'm like, whoo, I'm like strongholds. Like I just kept feeling that. I'm like, man, we trying to break this shit, and we have to on all levels through the power of men, through you guys through the power of that primordial Godhead energy that is above anything ever that's ever been seen, anything that anyone could ever describe, can ever name, could ever, the power from on high, straight power from on high, you know. Ye shall receive power from on high. And so that's the day and age we are in. And y'all can go out and sell out to these motherfuckers if y'all want to, and laugh now and cry later. But for those of us, we gonna stay free. That's the name of the game. Stay motherfucking free. Okay. Um, and so yeah, I'm about to end this right now. I appreciate those who watch the playback and whatnot. And so I love you guys. I'm gonna talk to you later. Bye.